The year is 1982. Argentina and Britain have a 74-day conflict over the sovereignty of the Falkland Islands, resulting in 900 lost lives. But how did we get to this point? To the English-speaking world, the Falkland Islands are known as just that, but in Argentina, the islands are referred to as Islas Malvinas. The Falkland Islands are located in South America, just 480 kilometers from Argentina. The Falkland Islands were discovered by an English captain called John Strong in 1690. At least this was the first recorded discovery throughout history. Leading up to the 20th century, Britain had seen off the French, Spanish, then Argentinians through various back and forth throughout history for the islands. Although sovereignty over the islands has been contested by Argentina since 1833, regularly protesting the British occupation of the islands over the following decades. You may be wondering to yourself why such a tiny island, which was a treacherous 14,000 kilometre journey away from mainland Britain, would be worth putting the hassle in to keep. Well, the island was a good location for a naval base, and imported animals, particularly sheep, could be bred and sold, as well as the gas and oil, which could be extracted and sold for huge profits. Additionally, Britain would have been made look very weak if they lost the Falklands to an economically inferior country. Argentina's economy was in a really bad spot, and with President Leopoldo Galtieri coming to power in 1981, the country's economy didn't improve, and there was an increasing amount of human rights violations. In a last-ditch effort to recruit support from the angered Argentine population, Galtieri decided to take the Falkland Islands by force from British control. The Argentine invasion of the Falklands started on the 2nd of April 1982, where they easily overcame a small garrison of British Marines stationed in the capital, Port Stanley. Despite some Argentinian losses, no British casualties were inflicted as per orders. The next again day, the Argentine Marines seized the associated island of South Georgia. By late April, Argentina had stationed more than 10,000 troops on the Falklands, although the vast majority were poorly trained conscripts, and they were not supplied with the proper food, clothing, or shelter for the upcoming winter. Back in Argentina, large crowds gathered at the Plaza de Mayo in Buenos Aires to show support for the country's military. In fact, South America as a whole was very supportive and showed empathy towards Argentina. Well, apart from Chile. It was due to this threat from Chile from a previous conflict that most of the elite soldiers remained on Argentine soil. In response to the Argentine invasion, the British government under Prime Minister Margret Thatcher declared a war zone for 320 kilometres around the Falklands. A naval force was also quickly assembled and set sail for the Falklands on the 5th of April. Argentina still fancied its chances though, as they hoped America would remain neutral. This didn't end up being the case, as despite weak mediation attempts, the US would quickly U-turn on this position and fully supported the British with fuel, missiles and military intelligence. It would be on the 25th of April where a small British force retook South Georgia Island, capturing one of Argentina's submarines in the process, with a larger force carrying on towards the Falklands. It would be on the 2nd of May where the most controversial incident of the war would occur, as a nuclear-powered British submarine sank Argentina's General Belgrano outside of the war zone established by Margret Thatcher, killing 323 Argentinians that were on board. This incident alone being almost half of Argentina's total deaths from across the whole conflict. This understandably rattled the Argentinians, who now opted to keep most of their ships in port, now prioritising to use their air force, which proved to be a good choice as the Argentinians had air superiority, even managing to sink a destroyer, HMS Sheffield. The Argentinians did lose between 20 to 30% of their planes though, which allowed the British to land on the Falklands due to facing less resistance. Expecting a direct British assault, the Argentine Ground Forces commander General Mario Mendes centralised his forces around the capital of Stanley to protect its vital airstrip. This prediction by General Mendes blew back in his face, as 4,000 British soldiers entered instead at Port San Carlos. The British plan was to take the settlements of Darwin and Goose Green and then head towards Stanley. On the 28th to the 29th of May, the Brits fought at Goose Green and Darwin against a dug-in, stubborn Argentine defence. However, the more skilled Brits reigned victorious, taking 600 Argentines as prisoners. Fresh from victory, the Brits set their sights on Stanley, taking the high ground on the surrounding hills and mountains despite tough Argentine resistance. With offshore British ships shelling Stanley from the other side, Mendes surrendered on the 14th of June as the Argentinians were surrounded and had their supply lines cut off, ending the war. Over the course of the war, the British took 11,400 Argentinian prisoners, which were all released, with the South American country reporting 650 of their men had been killed, while Britain had losses of 255 men. Argentina's military government was viewed as a complete failure, as it was unable to support or efficiently prepare its soldiers, resulting in civilian rule being restored in Argentina. In 1983, Raul Alfonso was elected president. In Britain, Thatcher controversially viewed the war as a great success, which resulted in a landslide victory for her Conservative Party in 1983. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already.